1990 gave us a compelling championship battle between Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin, but it also provided some fun and unique stats. From first wins and last wins to incredible streaks, I'm going to take you down a nerdy path of numbers and records, keeping this list as chronological as I can. Derrike Cope began the season by winning the sport's biggest race, the Daytona 500, by being in the right position at the right time when Dale Earnhardt cut a tire on the last lap. It was Cope's first career victory, and actually his first career top 5 in the season's first race. The second race of the season, at Richmond, Mark Martin took the checkered flag in what was his second career victory, with his first coming just 4 races prior near the end of the 1989 season. And then in 1990's third race, at Rockingham, Kyle Petty won his third career race, and first since 1987. He also scored his first career pole that weekend and won the largest Unocal 76 Challenge bonus in the program's 11-year history. Later that spring, Jeff Bodine would actually win his 8th career race in the season's 8th race at Martinsville. If you saw the Atlanta race in March 1990 had 3 cautions, would you expect it to have a green flag run that lasted 470 of the 500 miles? The historic 309-lap run came in the middle of the race too, as an early caution on lap 6 and 2 cautions in the final 10 laps slowed the race. The run was the longest at Atlanta in the modern era, and maybe ever, but caution records are spotty before then. It was the longest mileage-wise since a 471-mile run at Dover in May 1981, and nothing surpassed it until a May 1997 caution-free 500-mile race at Talladega. Buick came on the scene in 1981 and absolutely dominated the first 2 years the car was in the series. In the 61 races run between 1981 and 1982, Buick won 47 of them. However, Buick would only win 16 more times in its remaining 9 years of full-time competition. The final victory for Buick would come at the first Union 400 at North Wilkesboro in April 1990 as Brett Bodine took his first career victory in controversial fashion. A caution during a green flag pit cycle would cause confusion around the race scoring, with Bodine being scored as the leader after an 18-lap caution to figure out the race order. Bodine would hold off Dale Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip over the final 60 laps to secure Buick's final win in the Cup Series. With the addition of restrictor plates designed to slow the cars after the 1987 season saw record speeds and frightening accidents, Bill Elliott put up a pole lap at the 1990 Winston 500 at Talladega that still almost cracked the 200-mile-per-hour barrier at 199.388 miles per hour. This would be the fastest pole lap since the Talladega 500 in July 1987, and the fastest until June 2012 when Marcus Ambrose flew around Michigan at over 203 miles per hour on the freshly repaved surface. After Ambrose's lap at Michigan, there have been 13 other pole speeds to surpass 200 miles per hour, 1 at Daytona with group qualifying, 2 at Texas, and 10 at Michigan. Most people know Morgan Shepherd as a backmarker in the Xfinity Series for many years, but in the 1980s and 90s, he was competitive in the Cup Series. In his first season with car owner Bud Moore in 1990, Shepherd began the season with 11 consecutive top 10 finishes, including 4 top 5s. While he didn't win and didn't lead a whole lot of laps during the streak, that consistency earned him the top spot in the point standings after the 11th race of the season at Dover after a 6th place finish and a 31st place finish for previous point leader Dale Earnhardt. Unfortunately, Shepherd's lead would only last 1 race, as 6 consecutive finishes outside the top 10 would follow. It was still arguably the best season of his career, finishing 5th in points and closing the season with a victory at Atlanta. Dale Earnhardt had a monster Superspeedway season in 1990. He should have won the season-opening Daytona 500, but a cut tire on the final lap cost him the victory after leading 155 of the 200 laps. But he won the other 3 Superspeedway races, 2 at Talladega and 1 at Daytona, and led a total of 523 of the 776 laps in those 4 races, or over 67%. He was so good at the Superspeedways in 1990 that without them counting in the point standings, instead of winning the championship by 26 points over Mark Martin, he'd have lost it by 151, and all Martin would have needed to do was start the season finale to clinch. Single-digit car numbers are usually pretty popular, So if I told you Ernie Irvan's first career victory at Bristol in August 1990 was car number 4's first victory of the modern era, would it surprise you? It was actually the car number's first victory since Rex White won at Atlanta in October 1962, nearly 28 years prior. This was also Morgan McClure Motorsports' first win, and throughout the 90s, they'd be one of the most successful teams in the Cup Series with 14 wins among 3 drivers. The 1990 Phoenix race had one lead change the entire race, and it didn't even occur on the track. Rusty Wallace started from pole and led the first 50 laps, but when a caution came out and the field pitted, Dale Earnhardt beat him out of the pits to take the lead. Not long after that, Wallace lost an engine, and Earnhardt led the final 262 laps to win his 9th race of the season. The one lead change is the fewest in Phoenix's history that spans 57 races. The second lowest total is 7 in March 2016, so this race is the fewest by far. The one lead change was also the fewest in any race since October 1978 at North Wilkesboro, which also had one, and it was the fewest in any race until September 2000 at New Hampshire, which also had one, and Jeff Burton led all 300 laps. And if you don't think that makes sense, Burton started second, so officially the pole winner started out with the lead, and it was a first lap lead change. Darrell Waltrip came into 1990 on a streak of winning at least one race in 15 consecutive years, dating all the way back to 1975. Waltrip would rack up 79 wins during that time, and with 6 wins in 1989, it seemed likely that streak would continue. He had some decent runs the first half of the year, mainly at the short tracks, and was 8th in points heading to Daytona for the Pepsi 400. A terrible wreck suffered in practice for the race resulted in a broken leg and Waltrip missing 6 races. He finished the season with a series of solid runs, but he didn't get that victory to extend the winning streak, although his car did end up 5th in owners' points due to its consistency. Everyone knows Dale Earnhardt was a hard charger on the track. With that driving style, you'd expect him to run up front and lead lots of laps, and he did exactly that in 1990, leading the series in laps led. This was actually his 5th straight season leading the series in laps led, and nobody has had more in the modern era, although Darrell Waltrip had 4 straight seasons from 1981 to 1984. One thing I didn't expect to see, these 5 seasons were the only ones he led the most laps. He didn't do it prior to 1986, nor after 1990. The first year of the new decade was packed with surprises and record-setting performances, and the stats are a reflection of that. If you have any obscure stats you'd like to contribute, please post them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and check out the rest of my channel for more classic NASCAR content.